Hello learners, welcome to NIOS Studios, and today's program is under Ek Bharat Shrestha Bharat series, and the topic of discussion today is vocational education and self-reliant India. So dear viewers, if we talk historically, the world and knowledge are always interconnected. They complement and supplement each other. We can also say that they are extensions of each other. The philosophy of knowledge and Indian knowledge systems have evidences to prove that. That's why we have the concept of work and education. Even if we talk of John Dewey, he believed in experiential learning. He said that experience itself is education. So that for example, when students learn biology, they don't read the book. Instead, what they do, they sow the seeds. They see the plant grow. They perform experiments in the laboratory when they are doing chemistry and see the results. Yes, of course, there will be accidents, but that's how students will relate it to their daily life experiences and record it as their memorable experiences. Then we have had modern thinkers like Gandhi propagating the ideas on vocationalization. Also, we have seen vocationalization of education in previous policies as well. The policy of 1968, the education policy, and the education policy of 1986. And further, this policy, the National Education Policy 2020, has also taken steps to offer it formally in schools. So, viewers, when we talk of the idea of vocationalization of education, it won't be complete without mentioning or discussing Gandhiji's thoughts on it. Gandhiji was a modern thinker. He was far ahead of his times. His thoughts are still relevant in the context of the pandemic. In case of migrants and the rural India, the education and skills is the only way to bring back our self-sustenance, our self-reliance, and it is also an option to bring back our dignified livelihood. So, the Gandhiji's idea, which we say that they are still relevant, the essence of Gandhiji's educational philosophy, he talked about the basic principles of education, the industry-linked education. Though if we talk of industries then and now, there has been a drastic change. But he talked that time about the industry-linked education approximately more than 90 years from now. In fact, he gave the first model of vocalization of education, the craft-centered education, the idea of craft, handicraft, manual work, and the respect which is there for manual work. We must see how it can be integrated in the present-day education. Now, Gandhiji's idea of Nai Talim, the basic education, community building, the self-reliance, working with one's own hands. He always emphasized on self-reliance, on working with own hands. So, Gandhiji also talked about holistic education. It's not about bookish learning. It's something that stimulates you and something that we can do manually. It has rightly been said that the child says that you teach me and I forget, but you involve me and I learn. In the same way, Gandhiji also propagated the 3H, that is the heart, the hand and the head. So it means that the integration of if all three is involved, so it creates a long lasting effect. किसी भी काम को करने के लिए, किसी भी काम को समझने के लिए गांधी जी ने इन 3H का सहारा लिया था, and these 3H they develop the learner into a self-reliant learner. They make a learner a self-reliant learner. Crafts can be extended to include technology, because now if we talk of crafts, the crafts have not remained the same. Why always we talk of ethnic crafts when we look back, or the traditional toys? It can be the today's craft. So today's world, in the today's schools also, we hear of children making robots, we hear of them making applications, the apps on mobiles or maybe other applications. So why not we integrate those thoughts It can be molded from the the crafts of those days, the olden days, and now it can be revived to take care of these crafts which is relevant to the present day context. Similarly, we can explore what other crafts are also available and what students are interested in learning. Because when we also talk of craft centered education, we cannot be imposing it on the students. We cannot be forcing students to learn those crafts. It's like students should feel the interest, they should have that interest and they should be wanting to learn. So the technology, it has a huge scope to promote these crafts, and especially through the e-commerce sites also. Children, if we talk of children in rural areas or in urban areas, they may have different needs as far as vocationalization is concerned. So next, the challenge before us is also that how do we offer vocationalization, or how do we cater to the different vocationalization needs of the urban and the rural India, and how can we bring these unemployed youth to the mainstream of education. So, but it doesn't mean that we would provide, we do not give access to rural students to access the modern technology. Students from rural areas also need to be exposed to the same skills as the urban students are. There is a emphasis worldwide on sustainability. Everyone is talking about sustainability. In India, we have also been talking about Atmanirbhar Bharat. We have been talking about vocal for local. The local toys are being sold. They are being modernized and then sold. So, because as we mentioned about the craft, in the same way toys also, we don't have to every time talk about those traditional toys or those ethnic toys. These days also we can mold it according to the present day needs and then do it. And then social media platforms, they are also becoming very active e-commerce platforms now. Every now and then you see different social medias, different social media platforms propagating one or the other item, or for sale they are available there. So those can also be used for different e-commerce platforms. अब हमें और एक चीज सोचनी होगी, हमें खुद से क्वेश्चन करना होगा कि जो हम शिक्षा की बात कर रहे हैं, तो क्या हमारी शिक्षा व्यवसाय के साथ जोड़ती है? अगर हम देखेंगे तो हमें खुद से ही समझ में आएगा कि एक गैप है. देयर ऑलवेज बीन अ गैप, अ स्किल्स गैप. सो जो हमारी अभी जो वर्कफोर्स के लिए जो स्किल सेट चाहिए वो अभी उनको नहीं मिल पाता है, जो कि इंडस्ट्री में जरूरत है उसके हिसाब से. तो बहुत सी कंपनीज जो हैं वो ये अज्यूम भी कर लेती हैं कि जो टेक्नोलॉजी है या जो स्किल्स है यही एक प्राइमरी स्किल गैप है. But other than the needs of technological skills, there is also other skills that we refer to as the 21st century skills, the soft skills, and the other skills just as team building, working in collaboration, project working. So there are other skill sets also that need to be catered to. Now coming to the vocational education in NEP. NEP 2020, the National Education Policy that was released on 29th of July 2020, talks about the 12th 5-year plan that estimated only a very small percentage of Indian workforce, that is less than 5%, received formal vocational education. Whereas in USA, the number was 52%, in Germany 75%, South Korea 96%. And these numbers tell us that we are lagging far behind, and the need to speed up vocational education in India. But in India, if we talk of vocational education, it is perceived to be inferior to the mainstream and meant largely for those students who are unable to cope up with the later. हमने ऐसा मान लिया है या ऐसा एक परसेप्शन सोसाइटी में बन चुका है कि वोकेशनल एजुकेशन तो वो लोग करेंगे जो पढ़ नहीं पा रहे हैं या जो पढ़ाई में अच्छे नहीं हैं। लेकिन ये जो परसेप्शन है, दीज काइंड्स ऑफ परसेप्शंस, दे अफेक्ट द चॉइसेस दैट द स्टूडेंट्स मेक, and it is a very serious concern for all of us, and it can only be dealt by a complete reimagination of how vocational education is to be offered to the students in future. अब तक जो था वो हो चुका, लेकिन अब आगे को हमें कैसे करना है इसके बारे में हमें सोचना होगा। But why has this happened? What has happened? हमने ऐसा क्या किया कि ऐसा हुआ? Vocational was the base of our education system. Not every child wants to excel in studies, be an engineer or a doctor or a researcher or any other profession. Some just want to be with their families. They don't want to be in their homes, in their villages, and they feel satisfied. Why have we failed as a country to create respect for all professions? Still, if we see that someone talking of being a driver or being a plumber or being an electrician is looked down upon, why is it so that we have failed to create respect for all professions? Dear viewers, let us remind ourselves of some facts and figures. India's share in the world's economy when British arrived was 23%. Which was reduced to about 4% when they left. During 1600 BC, India's per person GDP was more than that of America, Britain, China and Japan. We are all aware of how British eroded us of our resources. The handloom weavers of India, we were well known for the fine quality muslin which was produced. The British tortured the weavers. They destroyed their looms and imposed heavy taxes and started taking raw material from India and shipped back finished materials to India. They turned the weavers in India into beggars, and from world's largest exporter of muslin, India became an importer. Its share came down to 27% of the world trade to about 2%. Dear viewers, we need to bring back vocational education into our education system. Every family must produce enough to sustain and not wait for the government subsidy every time. Why have we been talking or criticizing the government that ये नहीं हुआ या ऐसा होना चाहिए था? We need to be self-sufficient so as to sustain ourselves. Let us make our villages autonomous so that people don't have to migrate to the towns in search of jobs. We need to overcome the social status hierarchy with vocational education, and this requires integration of vocational education programs into the mainstream education in all educational institutions in a phased manner. So, as we discussed that the policy also says that we need to integrate the vocational education programs with the mainstream or with the academic programs. So let me share at this point with you that NIOS is one such board that offers the integration of academic and vocational subjects much before this policy came into practice. And even there is no compartmentalization between the streams too. It's not necessary for a learner to choose a PCM group. जरूरी नहीं है कि वो फिजिक्स, केमिस्ट्री और मैथ्स को ही तीनों सब्जेक्ट्स को ऑप्ट करें एज अ स्ट्रीम, या फिर अगर वो कॉमर्स स्ट्रीम ले रहे हैं तो जरूरी नहीं है कि वो अकाउंटेंसी, बिजनेस स्टडीज और इकोनॉमिक्स को ऑप्ट करें। ऐसा कंपलसरी बिल्कुल भी नहीं है। स्टूडेंट्स जो है वो फिजिक्स के साथ में अकाउंटेंसी भी ले सकते हैं या पेंटिंग ले सकते हैं, एग्रीकल्चर ले सकते हैं। बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट चॉइसेस हैं जो अवेलेबल हैं। जो भी उनकी नीड्स हैं, जो भी उनकी ज़रूरतें हैं, उसको देखते हुए लर्नर डिसाइड कर सकते हैं कि उन्हें क्या लेने की ज़रूरत है। So vocationalization of education is very important if we consider the present day context, because as we said that every family must produce or enough to sustain and not be गोइंग टू द और मूविंग टू द सिटीज फॉर अर्निंग। तो अगर हमारे गांव जो हैं, वो ये जो हमारे विलेजेस हैं, वो अगर सेल्फ सफिशिएंट होंगे, सेल्फ रिलायंट होंगे, तो लोगों को शहरों की तरफ पलायन करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी। वो वहीं पे अपना कुछ काम सेटअप कर सकते हैं और उस काम को सेटअप करने के बाद खुद उससे कमा सकते हैं। उसके साथ साथ और जो लोग हैं जो गांव में अवेलेबल हैं, उनको भी वो नौकरी दे सकते हैं, उनको भी वो काम पे लगा सकते हैं। उससे जो गांव की जरूरतें हैं, लोकल नीड्स हैं, उनको भी पूरा किया जा सकता है। और उन लोकल नीड्स को पूरा किया जाने के साथ साथ जो इंडिविजुअल काम कर रहा है उसका तो कमाई होगी ही, और साथ में जो जॉब अपॉर्चुनिटीज हैं, वो जो दूसरे लोग हैं जो अवेलेबल हैं वहां पर, जिनको आप जॉब दे रहे हैं, उनके लिए भी एक अपॉर्चुनिटी मिलेगी कि वो भी काम करके सेल्फ सफिशिएंट हो पाए। तो इस तरह की जो चीजें हैं, इसके बारे में हमें सोचने की जरूरत है कि हमें किस तरह से वोकेशनलाइजेशन ऑफ एजुकेशन को जो है फॉर्मल तरीके से देखना है और किस तरह से हमें उसको आगे लेकर जाना है। सो लर्नर्स, वी विल टेक अ शॉर्ट ब्रेक हियर एंड वी विल बी राइट बैक आफ्टर द ब्रेक।
प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने,
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने। हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो,
धन साधन समय की सीमा से विद्यालय जो मुक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
कभी पढ़े हम कहीं पढ़े, वे विषय की लोच से युक्त हो।
मित्रों हम उठे और जागे,
मंजिल आने की ध्वनि सुने। हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने।
जीवन ये प्रकाशित करने, राहों को आलोकित करने।
राष्ट्रीय मुक्त विद्यालय का है द्वार खुला सबकी खातिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर।
शिक्षा परीक्षा का अवसर एक बार ही क्यों मिलता फिर। दुनिया में इसके केंद्र बहुत,
कोई मन चाहा केंद्र चुने। हम अपना दीपक स्वयं बने, हम अपना रास्ता स्वयं चुने। कोई मन चाहा केंद्र
viewers, welcome back to the NIO studios, and we are having a live discussion on vocational education and self-reliant India under the Shrestha Bharat program. So if we talk of being self-reliant, if we talk of India, India has always been a self-reliant country, be it at the times of Indus Valley civilization, where we all were self-sufficient with our own produce, be it later the Gandhiji's idea of self-sustenance, then be it our Prime Minister's vision of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Now let's first start with the Gandhian idea of self-reliance. The Hind Swaraj in 1909, which said, where Gandhiji talked about self-control and moral development. He talked about the development of mind, body and soul. When India learns to control his desires, we would become self-reliant. Gandhiji propagated this idea that when India learns to control its desires, we become a self-reliant nation. Then he also talked about the participatory government, which is very much obvious from the Panchayati Raj system of India, which is there. According to him, India's economic development is not about being more. It's about self-development. It's about making villages autonomous and to produce enough so as to supply to the towns also. People to continue their hereditary occupation of the villages. And later, the Gandhi constructive program in 1941, where he talked about being self-sufficient, about stopping migration to the towns, and self-sufficiency in terms of power and lessening the digital divide, which is still prevalent. The Atmanirbhar Bharat, the term, it was first introduced in our 4th year plan, and later in 12th May 2020, the Prime Minister, when he announced the economic package for coronavirus for 20 lakh crore rupees, he talked about Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan. And he also said that in terms of coronavirus, the pandemic, he referred to as it as आपदा, और उन्होंने उस वक्त ये कहा था कि आपदा को अवसर में बदलने की बात की थी. इसी के साथ ये भी कहा गया था कि आयात पे निर्भरता को हमें कम करना होगा और आत्मनिर्भर बनना होगा. So we have to be less dependent on our imports and be self-reliant. Then later on 15th of August, Independence Day, he again focused on self-reliance in India and being vocal for local and make in India. And not just make in India, but make in India to make for the world and to emerge again as a global superpower. तो सबसे पहले आत्मनिर्भर क्या है उस पे थोड़ा सा डिस्कशन कर लेते हैं. आत्मनिर्भर होने की अगर हम बात करें तो उसकी 2 अप्रोच हो सकती हैं. पहली अप्रोच ये हो सकती है कि जो हमारे विदेशी उत्पाद हैं उनका हम सीधी तरह बहिष्कार कर दें. वी आउटराइटली रिजेक्ट द फॉरेन गुड्स. एंड सेकेंड कैन बी दैट इंडिजिनस प्रोडक्ट्स can be promoted, and not just promoted but also side by side we need to ensure that they match the quality and the cost of other goods. If we talk of Indian economy, it suffered huge losses during the pandemic and it lost about $2.8 trillion, which has been one of the largest GDP contractions. But this contraction is not the only one. We have had similar ones during demonetization also, and also when we introduced the LPG policy. So we have had GDP contractions earlier also. Then when we talk of vocal for local, so first we need to understand कि लोकल ब्रांडिंग या ब्रांडिंग ऑफ लोकल प्रोडक्ट्स करने की जरूरत है. हम बार बार ये बात करते हैं, तो ऐसा कहां से ये बात निकल के आती है? तो जब हम लोकल प्रोडक्ट्स की बात करते हैं तो कोई भी प्रोडक्ट जब वो फर्स्ट लॉन्च होता है तो वो लोकल प्रोडक्ट ही होता है, लेकिन क्योंकि उसकी क्वालिटी अच्छी होती है, उसकी डिमांड इतनी ज्यादा होती है कि उसकी मांग बढ़ती जाती है, और जब मांग बढ़ती जाती है तो अपने आप वो प्रोडक्ट जो है वो एक ब्रांडेड कैटेगरी में चला जाता है। इसी के साथ साथ हम सेल्फ रिलायंट इंडिया की जब बात करते हैं तो उसके 5 पिलर्स की भी उसके साथ में बात होती है, जो सेल्फ रिलायंट इंडिया के 5 पिलर्स हैं, जिसमें बात की गई है इकोनॉमी की, कि जो हमारी इकोनॉमी है वो इंक्रीमेंटल टर्म्स में ना बढ़े बल्कि उसमें क्वांटम जंप्स हो, एक लीप जंप हो। उसके अलावा जो हम इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर प्रोवाइड करते हैं, इट हैज टू बी मॉडर्न इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विच केटर्स टू द प्रेजेंट डे नीड्स। Then we need to have technology driven systems. The governance systems especially, it has to be technology driven, and in the present day we can see many such changes happening place. We have several examples. Next is like we have a rich demographic dividend, and India, if we talk of India, it is one of the country which maximum number of youth population is there. So hence the mission Skill India, and under which we have several schemes so as to take care of the young population, to skill them and to make them employable. Then the 5th one is the demand. So when we say we have a huge population, a 130 crore population in India, so there is no dearth of demand of products. So we do have demands, and then we need to supply or produce, cater to that demand. Now some of the basic things that we all know. First is, we all know that India has talent. How do we know that India has talent? Because we have had many examples worldwide, several best companies, best global companies have Indian CEOs there. We have example of Sundar Pichai, which he moved from Google to Alphabet. We have example of Satya Nadella, Microsoft, and then Parag Agarwal, Twitter. So we have several examples. This were just a few to mention about, but other than these also we have several other examples to quote. Then the next thing which we need to understand is the complete supply chain needs to be there. So when during the time of COVID, when the production in China stopped, so suddenly the whole world realized the dependency on China, because we were so much dependent on China for the raw materials, and when the production of raw materials stopped there, so there was a break in supply chain. So we need to take care that complete supply chain, starting right from the raw material, needs to be produced in the country. When the complete supply chain mechanism is provided in the country, then it will be more self-sustainable, self-reliant country. Then coming next to vocal for local. As I just mentioned, that any of the brands first started as a local. In fact, if we talk about, if we take the recent example of pandemic only, then there were ventilators which were developed by Indian scientists. We know about the IIT Roorkee Pranvayu ventilator which was introduced. So why not promote our own country products, and several examples which have been there, why not take them forward so as to make them branded and create demand for them. Then these 5 pillars which were mentioned earlier, they need to be strengthened to achieve self-reliance. And then it is also expected, in the present day it is expected to the major things that we have before us that need immediate attention is to ease the migrant laborers and the farmers, the MSMEs, and to provide job opportunities for people, provide vocational education, and very important in today's world, to tackle the skill gap and to generate employment opportunities, which we have been talking about. Now there have been several challenges also. So when we talk of the challenges, the challenge is the the infrastructure, the infrastructure that is available. Is it sufficient to provide or to cater to the vocational education needs, or how we are going to about it? We need to focus on this. Then the next is the availability of trained teachers. Do we have teachers trained to teach the vocational education skills? Then next is the formal recognition. Is there a formal recognition for the vocational education? And most importantly, there has been no awareness on vocational education, or creating interest, or maybe now we can have some advocacy programs so as to more and more people know about the programs or the schemes which are there, or maybe about the vocational education programs what students can take. And then also, like we discussed earlier, that vocational education programs have always been thought of as less important, or not of equal importance as that of academics, because we have always had that mindset as a society as a whole that academic is more important, and the students, those who are going for academics, are intelligent, and those who cannot cope up with the academic subjects, they go for vocational education and training. So we need to break this stereotype and bring forth the vocational education. Then, as we have talked about this earlier also, we need to expand with the help of technology. Technology can be used in many forms, and we will talk about this further also. So first, let us know more about the areas in which India has achieved sustainability. So in food production, if we see that we have India is the one of the largest producer of wheat, rice, and also we have good milk production also. So this has been possible because of the green revolution, because of the milk production, that is the white revolution. And also, if we talk about the nuclear power, the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research it was established long back. So we have had sustainability in that sector as well. Then if we talk of healthcare, we have had leading institutes like AIIMS, and India is a leading country in genetic drugs as well. Then if we talk of though India is a leading country in genetic drugs, but still we do not have the raw material to produce those drugs. So we need to see that though we say we are the leading country, and we are, but India also needs to have a raw material for producing those medicines. Then if we talk of military power, India has the largest ground force. So also about science and technology, we had institutions like IIT, ISRO, and we all are aware of the IT policy or the IT revolution, which was the outcome of the 1992 plan of action, which was the revision of 1986 education policy. And as a result of it, we have Silicon Valley, and which is very much renowned and throughout the world, and we have been doing a lot in the IT sector as well. So again, reiterating that presently there is a need to focus on immediate infrastructure for vocational and for providing relief for MSME sectors and the relief for middle class, the farmers, and the migrant laborers. Then some challenges that we see are that the younger generation, if we see that they are not very keen on carrying on their family trade, because maybe they feel that is inferior. So if we see in the villages also, जो भी कोई कारीगर हैं, उनके जो बच्चे हैं, वो काम या वो कला को आगे नहीं ले जाना चाहते हैं जो कि उनके पेरेंट्स या उनकी फैमिली सदियों से करती आई हैं. तो इससे हमें दो तरह के नुकसान, कई तरह के बल्कि नुकसान होते हैं. एक तो ये कि वो लोग फिर शहरों की तरफ पलायन करने की सोचते हैं. दूसरा नुकसान ये भी होता है कि जो वो स्किल है, वो पर्टिकुलर स्किल है जो वो फैमिली स्पेसिफिक था, वो भी धीरे धीरे इरोड हो जाता है, वो विलुप्त हो जाता है. बल्कि उसके अलावा जो है, जो सस्टेनेबिलिटी है विलेजेस की, जो काम करने से खुद एम्प्लॉयबल होने के साथ साथ आप औरों को भी एम्प्लॉयबल कर सकते थे, एम्प्लॉयबिलिटी दे सकते थे, वो चीज भी हट जाती है, वो चीज भी नहीं रह जाती है। तो इसलिए ये एक बहुत मेजर चैलेंज है जिसे हमें, जो अपनी यंगर जनरेशन है, उन्हें हमें ये बताना होगा कि वो अपने काम को भी एक मॉडर्न तरीके से कर सकते हैं, कि they need to be told that how they can do it in a very modern way, how they can integrate technology into it, how they can market their products using technology. As we talked earlier also, there are so many e-commerce platforms available where, you know, they can reach, or they can maybe do it with the help of app, or sell their products online. So and then in many other things also technology can be integrated. So they need to be taught those skills so that they also carry forward the family trait and also enjoy doing that the family trait thing. So it's not like कि अभी उनको ये करना पुरानी चीज लगती है, या उन्हें लगता है कि अब ये एक वो इसमें नहीं जाना चाहते, जो उनके पेरेंट्स या पहले से जो फैमिली के लोग हैं वो करते आए हैं, वो इसमें इसको आगे नहीं ले जाना चाहते। तो ये एक इकोनॉमी के लिए, इंडियन इकोनॉमी के लिए, रूरल इकोनॉमी के लिए एक खतरा है, और इसे हमें बहुत ही अच्छी तरह से स्मार्टली टैकल करना होगा। उसके बाद जो नेक्स्ट है वो है हमारे और भी कंसर्न्स हैं जो कि लोकल स्किल डेवलपमेंट के साथ में हैं, कि किस तरह से हम लोकली स्किल को डेवलप कर सकते हैं, कैसे हम उन्हें केटर कर सकते हैं, कैसे हम उनको वहीं पर ट्रेनिंग दे सकते हैं कि जिससे कि उन्हें मूव भी ना करना पड़े, और जिस विलेज में वो हैं वहीं पे उनको उन चीजों की ट्रेनिंग मिल पाए। अगर हम और इसके साथ साथ अगर हम ये देखें कि कई सारे चैलेंजेस ये भी हैं कि अगर हम रूरल इंडिया की बात करते हैं तो बहुत सारे ड्रॉप आउट्स वहां पर एजुकेशन से होते हैं। तो किस तरह से हम उन ड्रॉप आउट्स को थ्रू वोकेशनल एजुकेशन उनको वी कैन ब्रिंग बैक इनटू द मेन स्ट्रीम, और help them complete their education so that they are qualified before when they enter the world of work also. So, and side by side while they're working also they can earn a degree. So if we talk of, on the other side, if we talk of certain markets that have been captured by foreign imports, so some of the markets, for some of the things we rest heavily on foreign importing from foreign countries. Some of these are toys, sometimes medicines also, and also electronics has been a very major market. So if we talk of toys, so we see that India has about $150 crore toy market, and if we talk about the toys market, 80% of the toys are imported from China. And there have been reports which say that out of these many toys, more than about 65% are not safe for children also. So why are we not promoting our own toys so as to capture this market? Then if we talk about the medicines, so we are importing raw materials from China. And during the COVID pandemic also, China increased the cost of the raw materials, which was further hard for the Indian economy to bear. Then if we talk of electronics, the raw materials, we do say that we have been doing a lot in the field of electronics in India as well, but till date the raw materials such as chips and other things like motherboards, they are still being imported from foreign countries. And we majorly what we are doing is we are just assembling, we are not wholly producing it in India. So toys, because it is a very large market, if we talk further on it, India despite being a home of many globally popular games, we have had many popular games in India like the chess, Ludo, snakes and ladders, and though they were traditional games which were earlier, India is not amongst the leading developers and manufacturers of toys. So under the Atmanirbhar Bharat Abhiyan, the Prime Minister initiated a toy-cathon, and it was toy-cathon इवेंट किया गया था और इसको एक चैलेंज की तरह लिया गया था कि जो भी इंडिया के इनोवेटिव माइंड्स हैं उनको एक अपॉर्चुनिटी दी जाए कि वो जो अपने आइडियाज हैं टॉयज को लेकर, गेम्स को लेकर, जो कि ऐसे गेम हो जो भारतीय सिविलाइजेशन पे बेस्ड हो, इंडिया की हिस्ट्री पे बेस्ड हो, इंडिया के कल्चर पे बेस्ड हो, इंडिया की मैथोलॉजी की बात करें, ऐसे गेम्स को आगे लेके आया जाए। तो इससे बच्चों को भी मौका मिलेगा कि वो हमारा जो कल्चर है उसके बारे में जान पाएंगे और साथ ही जो हमारी अपनी कला है वो भी सामने उभर कर आएगी और बच्चों को इसमें काम करने का और सोचने का मौका भी मिलेगा। तो टॉय कैथन जो है एक इंटर मिनिस्ट्रियल इनिशिएटिव था जिसमें जो मिनिस्ट्री ऑफ एजुकेशन का इनोवेशन सेल था उसने AICTE के सपोर्ट के साथ में और कुछ अन्य मिनिस्ट्रीज के साथ में इस इनिशिएटिव को किया था। तो जैसा कि हमने टॉय मार्केट की बात करी कि उसमें 150 करोड़ USD का मार्केट है और ज्यादातर इसमें हम इंपोर्टेड टॉयज को लेके चलते हैं और जो कि ऐसे टॉयज हैं जो इंडिया की हेरिटेज या उसके सिविलाइजेशन या उसके वैल्यू सिस्टम से कोई भी नाता नहीं रखते हैं। तो जो टॉय कैथन की बात कही कि वो एक अपॉर्चुनिटी थी स्टूडेंट्स के लिए, टीचर्स के लिए या फिर स्टार्टअप्स के लिए कि वो एक मौका दे एक्सपर्ट्स को और एक प्रोफेशनल्स को भी कि वो अपने जो इनोवेटिव आइडियाज हैं उनको लेके इन कॉन्सेप्ट्स को आगे लाएं और ये ज्यादातर जो लोग हैं उन तक ये पहुंचे। तो ये जो इनिशिएटिव की हमने बात करी, आज हमें जरूरत है कि हम इस तरह के इनिशिएटिव्स को करें जिससे कि जैसे हमने ये टॉय के लिए किया इसी तरह से दूसरे भी सेक्टर्स के लिए जहां पे फॉरेन मार्केट का इन्वॉल्वमेंट बहुत ज्यादा है। इवन इफ वी टॉक ऑफ द फुटवियर, चाइना हैज डोमिनेटेड द मार्केट, वी आर इंपोर्टिंग सो मच। सो if we talk of we can do toycathon, then similar initiatives need to be taken for other sectors also where there is a lot of foreign investment, where foreign import is there, so that we can these things will help us become more sustainable and help us be self-reliant and therefore attaining or achieving the mission of the Prime Minister of being a self-reliant India. So learners and viewers, with these words I conclude today's session. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you.